Oh, this is so exciting. I loved our interview with Sharon last time.
Yes, Sharon participated in our very first business summit for Smart Chicks. So how exciting to, have her back.
I know.
She likes us enough to come back.
I know. That's right.
I was going to say the same thing. You like me and come back.
Well, we had such great feedback last time. I know we took on board so much of the, nuggets that you had to share with us. And I think we really resonated with thinking this title of the summit, you were one of the first people that came to mind in knowing what you've created and what you've been able to achieve. So we're excited to have you back.
Let's remind the speakers, the listeners, how did we meet Sharon? I'm trying to remember.
I think it was through Miriam. I think Miriam introduced us in the very beginning.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
So it's a bit of an online Facebook stalk. There seems to be a common theme with the Facebook stalking. It works out. People meet in real life and then, the rest is history. So Sharon,
you either become friends or unfriended.
Yeah, that's right.
Or we're friends and unfollow each other. Yes. Whatever's the least awkward. So Sharon, tell everyone at home what you do, because there's like a juggernaut behind what you do, and obviously we'll delve into the lifestyle aspect of your business. But for everyone listening at home, tell us about your business.
Yeah, well, I actually own 10 businesses, so that keeps me very busy. But the business that I hang out in the most is Sharon Jurd Events, and that's where I help people change their lives, change their business, change their mindset. And I help them make those changes to get the lifestyle that you're after, because sometimes people don't have that balance and need to grow as people and grow their businesses. And so my focus in that business is to help people grow their businesses so that gives them the lifestyle that they're after, because the more money you earn, the more people you can help, and the more things that you can do for your family. And then I have a international franchise company called Hydroclean, and we're in 20 countries now. So we're about to be
in the last 12 months, right?
Yeah. So it's just been phenomenal, and we're based here on the Gold Coast in Australia. And when you say 20 countries, it doesn't, like, the enormity of that doesn't feel, because I'm just Sharon,
I can vouch for that. She really is just Sharon.
I know.
Yeah.
That sort of sounds weird, but you still have the same values, you still have the same beliefs, you still have the same craziness, but you're in 20 countries. Like, you're just sharing this out more to the world. So they're the two businesses where I sit right now, and both of them are just helping people get from A to B, and it doesn't matter what modality or business or genre or industry you're in. Most people who are giving people, it comes from someone's here in A and they want to get to B, and that's how you help them.
Yes, beautiful.
Okay, wow, 10 businesses. Isn't that just amazing, by the way?
Yeah, it is.
It's a round of applause. Well done, just Sharon.
Let's take us back. Take us back a bit to, I guess, either what got you into running your own businesses or starting out in business on your own. How did that develop?
Yeah, there was a real moment around that. I was in real estate, so I was a real estate agent, auctioneer, business agent for a long time, and I was working for a gentleman. His name is Neil, and I had the perfect job. So he paid me very well. I was probably earning more than he was now that I know about, owning businesses sometimes.
Yes, exactly.
Sometimes. And he looked after me very well, and I ran his business, so I was the only signatory on his account for the real estate section of his business. And so he had absolute trust in me. And I quite often would say to him, let me buy in, let me do this. But he had a business partner beforehand, and it didn't go so well. And they're still mates, but it didn't work out the way that they saw that. And so he said, I swore then that I would never go into business again with someone else. And so he was sticking by that, and so I accepted that. But he had twin daughters, and they were getting older. They were finishing their HSC, as it was called in New South Wales, and I could see this, whether I was making it up in my head or whether it was real, but I could see these daughters finishing school and going, oh, I'm going to come and work for you, Dad, and where does that leave me? As they, they might not originally take my role, but they would grow into that. Yeah. And so I was feeling a bit vulnerable. And we were great mates, and I'd tell him this, I'm going, your daughter's going to, and he's going, it's never going to happen, they're never going to work for me, no way. But it didn't matter what he said to me, that uneasiness grew. And I thought, he's built this business for his daughters. He had an older son as well, but, he built this business for his daughters. What was I building for my two children? Because at the end of the day, I just had a paycheck. And so if that did happen, then, he could give me notice, or, I could give him notice, and it's all over. Yeah. And even though, I was doing the right thing with super and, all that sort of stuff, but I felt uneasy about it. So I just chatted to Neil, and I said, Neil, I've got to go and do it by myself. I have to go and open my own real estate office, and I don't want to be sitting in my rocking chair when I'm 80. I don't know why I chose 80, but now it seems to be, I need it to be a lot older. I need it to be 90 or 100, because as you get closer to 80,
it doesn't seem so old anymore.
But I said, in my rocking chair when I'm 80, and I never want to say what if.
Yeah.
And so I did, 12 months later, and he worked with me and helped me, and he knew I was setting up another office. It was very open and transparent about what I was doing, because it was in another town and so forth. So that was the defining moment for me, was that I had to go and do this for myself. Yeah. And I did. and really, I don't know how I work for somebody else, because some people say, oh, they could never work for somebody else. But he was just such a great boss. Yeah. I think if it was a different person in a different environment, more corporate, I may not have survived so well. But because I was actually running the show, felt like I was working for myself. So I think that's how I survived during that working for someone else period. Yeah.
It's interesting. I actually had this exact conversation with my husband the other day, and he is an employee, and he is trying to get to the point where he can, he's trying to advance where he is as well. So when I was having this very open conversation with him, it was by no means knocking employment, because I want that for him. I want him to be happy with whatever he does. But when I met him for lunch last week, I said to him, I felt really depressed walking through the city. I've always felt like that in Sydney and in Adelaide, when I walk through the city and see all the suits rushing around at lunchtime, checking their watches, women in high heels sprinting around the city really urgently in the weather. And I'm just like, all I want to do is just wear my thongs and kind of create my own thing in my own time. And it really brought home to me the fact that for me personally, I can't have a purpose that is intertwined with growing somebody else's business. Yeah. I just can't do that. And I think you get to a point, don't you, where you basically just decide what you want. Mm-hmm. And it could be employment, but for a lot of us that are listening, particularly to this series, it's definitely not that.
Yeah. I think talking about the legacy, but I will get to that a bit later. But I think talking about it from that aspect is really interesting as well, because when you look at a job, with your job's only as good as the length of time that they keep
paycheck.
Yeah. And nowadays, many more places aren't taking people permanently, or they're under contract stuff. Yeah. And even my husband's, working for government or semi-government, but and that used to always be super safe. Like, they couldn't sack you. Like, if you're a permanent, you're permanent for life. But that's all changed as well. That's still all, even at his level, contractual, and stuff can still kind of change. So the security is a bit different. And so I think in having a business, even if you build it up slowly alongside of a job, there's nothing better than having multiple income streams where you've got something else that's working for you. And obviously you've worked such that some of your businesses are a cash cow, you might call them, where you don't have to work in them much, but they generate some income.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's exactly the reason why I have multiple businesses, because you got to keep away from that vulnerability of, if this goes pear-shaped. You hear stories all the time of, people really well known owning, 20 or 30 businesses before they get their wow, and I like the different aspects of each business. I'm a different person in each business, because it's a different environment. I've had lots of discussions with people about, oh, how can you be a different person in each business? And, well, you sort of are. You know, you have different roles sometimes. You know?
Yeah, and this is probably a good lead-in as well to our next question, that we wanted to find out really what success looks like to you. So does multiple income streams come into that, or is that kind of something that has come as a result of you chasing the success that you want? Like, what kind of came first?
Yeah, money always comes later. So, you know, for me, and it's cliche in saying, you know, success is a journey, but I truly believe that that's true, because if you wait for success, you're never there, and success changes along the way. What I was successful at when I started my real estate business, 12 months later, if I was doing those same figures, then I wouldn't have been successful in my own eyes. But for me, now success is changing people's lives. So when I get up in the morning, I go, whose life am I going to change today? And I say it in plural. And then at night, you know, whose lives did I change today? And really be grateful for that. And if I do nothing else, I'm successful. You know, because if you do that and you change people's life, the money will come. You know, the money comes. I never sit down and, you know, focus on my bank balance. I don't focus on the income. I focus on who I'm helping today. And then everything else falls in place. Yeah, you need to know the numbers in your business and all of that. But if you're sitting there every morning and opening your bank account as your first thing and to see how much money you've got, it ain't going to happen for you. So for me, and with my successes, I celebrate them. You know, everything, anything for, you know, a wine, a champagne, or, you know, name it, I'll have it as a success. You know, so every day, every week, I'm celebrating something. You know, we're always chinging the, you know, the champagne glasses, because you don't wait for next month or next year. It's happening right now.
Yeah, this is such a good point as well. Like, we have really tried to make the effort since our children are all at school now to actually sit and have some time to ourselves. But the thing that we are still trying to integrate, I guess, into our own routine is celebrating the small wins along the way, because you can really fall into the trap of the comparisonitis with other people, but also the comparisonitis against your own goals. So it's like, okay, well, I'm not where I want to be yet. So just keep going until you get to that. Yeah. And in the meantime, like, you can write down 50 things you did today that are actually really bloody successful that you just conveniently forgot about.
Yeah. I know. And I think, like Sharon said, you know, what you want changes along the way, not only from maybe what you need to earn to make up for the money that's going outwards, but also just what you need right now. Like, for some people looking at just starting to bring some money back in, and they're either looking at, I've got to do 2 days a week work, or I can bring in $500 some other way that stops me having to do that. You know, to them, success looks completely different, and it'll change for them later. Like, you know, success for you is different now that both the kids are at school. And
yes, it is.
And, you know, and people, you know, like 10 businesses, people would go, oh, that would be a nightmare to me. That's not successful, you know. So it's very different from everyone. It's just what it is for me. I don't say, oh, I've got 10 businesses, I'm in 20 countries. I go, I actually got on a summit today and helped a crap load of people.
Yeah. You know? And people draw inspiration from that, you know, like, and it's important. This is probably a good time to just chat about the fact that it is important to realise that you can't compare your success today with someone's success that's been chipping away at their business for 20 years. Like, if I can imagine having multiple businesses. In fact, I do have a couple of companies, but one of them is just not even doing anything. It's a renovation company that I never talk about. But I guess you get to the point where you build that up over time. It's not like you just wake up one day and start those 10 businesses that day and have your brain all compartmentalized. And
well, that's like growing into 20 countries. That just didn't happen. It seems like it happened overnight, but it didn't, you know. And then we were, you know, 4 and 5, and then we got to 10, and because we're growing as well. Like, when you've got to grow with your businesses, or even you've got to keep ahead of them. You can't go and earn $1 million if you're not ready in your mind to earn $1 million. So you've got to grow yourself along the way. You know, it's like we all want to earn $1 million overnight, but that's not going to help you up here in your head. You've got to grow yourself first to be ready for that. Yeah.
Do you know, oh my God, I'm getting really excited now. I love that, because I actually went and saw a psychic medium once. I was talking to my friend about this today at lunchtime. And what she said to me was, the reason why your business will not grow in the on the trajectory financially to what you believe it should be comes 100% down to mindset. And if you can't handle the pressure from a mindset perspective of your family being at you while you're trying to work, how do you handle the pressure of having a social media presence or a public presence where everyone is at you? Like, you need to be able to set people you don't even know. Like, you've got to be able to set boundaries in your life on a micro level and have systems in place, which we know that you're like a systems genius. So you will 100, like, she's not.
Did you say systems?
Dropping at the mouth.
But that really resonated with me. So it's interesting to hear that come from you as well, because you've been there and you've done it, and it 100% comes down to mindset, doesn't it? If you don't believe you can do it, why will it happen?
It will never happen if you can't believe it. Yeah. And so you set that belief that you're worthy, you're capable, all those, I'm saying it in positive sense, but usually we're saying it in a negative to us, to ourselves. But if you start saying positive things to yourself, you'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So before we get to the point where our mindset is amazing and we have 10 companies or whatever our definition of success is, it might not be 10 companies, but it might be something else. Obviously, we're all individual. Were there struggles that you had to overcome along the way that really, I guess,
I'm sure between one company and 10, there's been many struggles, but can you pick a struggle that you'd like to share with us that you had?
I'm glad you asked me this, because I have actually talked to somebody else about this week. And sometimes if you're leaving a job and going to work for yourself, it's very relevant as well. Because what I tended to do was hide behind a logo or a brand. And when I was in real estate, I was under the Century 21 brand, and I really hid behind that. I became the Century 21 brand. And so if people said no to me to do business with me, it was never about me. I'd go, they don't like Century 21, they don't like the systems, they don't like the marketing plan, whatever it was. But it was always third party to me. And even in HydroClean, I can hide behind the brand as well, because, I go, they don't like our system and so forth. But in Sharon Jurd events, it's Sharon Jurd. And when you step out on your own, there's nothing to hide behind. Sure, I've got a little logo, but there's nowhere to hide. And if they don't want to work with me, they don't like me. And I say that in inverted commas because, it might be not the right time or whatever, but it's still, you feel so vulnerable. And I really struggled with that. And, I talked to, a good friend of mine, Karen Sydney in New Zealand, a lot about this, because when I get scared, I call her. And I said to her, I just, I feel exposed. And she had the same struggles. And I think that some of your community may feel that as well, because if someone doesn't want to coach with you or, have you as a speaker, you look at what's wrong with yourself, and there's nothing wrong with yourself. It's just, it's not the right time. It's not the right person. It's not the right audience. The universe has bigger and better things for you. But that was a huge struggle for me along the way of really exposing myself. Does that sound right? But, we've got social media now, and we're showing, ourselves. And we've spoken about this before, that, good to let everyone know who you really are, but you have to get over that struggle if that's one of the struggles you have. Yeah.
This has made me think about something that someone said to us once within our community, where, you know, it was mentioned that Kirsty and I are so lucky because we have each other. But when you look at it, and we are, right? Like we have a business partnership where we're just completely on the same page. It's weird. It's like we've got the same brain. We found out we've got the same feng shui trigram, even though we're 11 years apart in age. Like there's all these things that mean that we are very in sync. But on the flip side to that, when you are actually doing something on your own as opposed to in a partnership, that's scarier almost. Like for us, we can hide behind each other. It's like, oh, I don't really feel like getting out of bed today and doing this. Can you just deal with that today? And we've got the ability to hide. Like Kirsty's my bush.
Yeah.
I need to get out from behind my bush. And so I guess it is worth just noting that everyone, no matter what their circumstances, again, it's like, don't compare what you're doing to other people. Compare what you did yesterday to what you can do for yourself today.
Well, I have a really good thing that I share with people. I go, you know, give me your thumb and put it on the table next to mine, and I'm going to grab a hammer and I'm going to hit our thumbs. We're still going to feel the same pain. It doesn't matter where we are, we still feel the same pain. I still get, you know, nervous, worried, you know, anxious, scared, all of those things, just as I did when I owned one, you know, I was opening my one little business, you know, in Muswellbrook, you know, in the Hunter Valley. It's the same. It's just that we're in different places. You know, our thumbs still hurt when you hand it on the hammer.
Yeah, yes. I was just going to say, I'm still stuck back on the when she gets nervous and has to ring her friend in New Zealand.
Yeah, like, yeah.
Sharon gets
Sharon, I get really scared. Yeah. I held a 3-day event this weekend, and just before everyone came in the room, I said to Diana, my PA, I said, I'm really nervous now. I'm really nervous. You know,
you want it to be successful. You always want it to be successful. Yeah. You always think, what if? I don't remember Denise Duffield-Thomas saying the same sort of thing, that she still goes, oh, but everyone has it now. What if nobody needs it anymore? What if, you know, like, what if everyone's heard of me? And, you know, and she still turned around and did a massive launch, but it doesn't matter where you are. You still wonder, do people still want me, or are they sick of me now?
Because I was teaching people how to speak from the stage. So I'm speaking from the stage knowing that they're actually critiquing me. How scary is that?
Yeah.
Really scary.
Really living your message. Like, how do you really live up to your own message, right?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Defining moment.
Moment.
I think we might know what might be your defining moment.
In the interview that we did last year, there was obviously one big defining moment, but let's see if it's the same one.
It is.
We'll touch on the defining moment in your life.
It is. I can't get rid of it.
But it's such a great story to share. So.
Yes. So, you know, I was in real estate at the time. I was a mother of 2. Like, I was really. If you had to say you had the perfect life, I, you know, then was really super cool. Like, you know, at that time, everything was just great. You know, was I busy? Yes, you know, because we're all busy. But at the age of 29, I took a stroke. And I was quite affected by the stroke. So it took away my speech. It took away my mobility on my left side. So I couldn't look after myself. I was told that I would never be an auctioneer again, never own my businesses or be able to run them. I couldn't look after myself and I couldn't look after my children. And for someone to tell you that you can't look after your own children as a mum, for me, that was impossible. That just, you know, I just couldn't comprehend that. Yeah. But I knew that I had to get myself well. I didn't, you know, it took me a little while. At first I was trying to help others because my life was in chaos, as you can imagine, you know, just someone taking you out of your life, you know, how would that look? For me, I was such a control freak. I had everything sorted, but no one knew what I was doing. No one knew where my daughter had to go to care. You know, they didn't know what time my son started school. And it wasn't that I didn't have anyone close around me. It was just that I did it. I did it all. And, you know, my husband at the time was driving interstate, so he wasn't there during the morning routine. And, you know, it wasn't that he was a bad dad. It was just that's how it was. And I had to really change my process of becoming well, because I had to be really selfish. I really had to concentrate on my own health and well-being and recovery and rehab, so I could then go on to help my children. Where at first I was trying to help them, and I was trying to communicate, and then I'd be tired when it went to rehab for speech therapy, and then they banned me from talking to my family, and then they banned my family. Like, it was like, because I wouldn't stop talking. But, you know, once I sort of settled down and said, right, let's just focus within my mum, dad, my, you know, husband, they've got this, you know, my children are fine, you know, it was just me trying to, you know, make it easier for them. You know, it's that nurturing, you know. So once I became, and the message, you know, I talk to a lot of people about it, is it's okay to be selfish. Like you guys have talked about, now my kids are in school, we're going to spend some time on ourselves, and we really need to do that as women, because, you know, I talk about coming from a giving place all the time, and you can only give when, you know, you allow yourself to receive as well. Once you do that and you receive, then you're able to give. And that was a big learning. I mean, there was lots of learnings, but that was a real big one for me. And so I've always now said, what's my thing? You know, how am I going to look after myself? And as you may know, and your viewers might know, and listeners, that I go to the hairdressers on Friday mornings at 9 o'clock. And that's my thing. Some people go for massages, some people play tennis or golf. But that's my thing. I sit there and, you know, he makes me look amazing, and I'm relaxed. You know, I don't answer the phone, and I do it in business hours just to prove to myself I can. And so that's my thing, you know. And so you've got to find your thing on what you do that makes you feel good. And make sure you do it.
And I think what you're talking about, like obviously you had quite a significant health scare. So that's like on the upper end. But a lot of women in business that are feeling burnt out, they might have things like hormonal issues, adrenal fatigue, chronic fatigue, like depression, anxiety, like other forms of mental health issues, stress. So there's a whole gamut of reasons why we need to engage in that self-care as well. And, you know, you're a really good example of that. You just needed to, it's like the truck to the face from the universe. You had to do it.
I had to, yes. And, you know, in the lead up to, I was not looking after myself. You know, I looked healthy, like I wasn't overweight. I looked healthy. I had plenty of energy, but I never took any downtime for myself. And they say the universe lets you know, it lets you know in a feather. So it'll give you a little niggle. Then if you don't take any notice, it'll bring a brick. And then if you don't take any notice of that, it brings a bus. And I got the bus. And you don't want to let yourself get to the bus. You know, when you feel that feather, you know, and you go, hang on, you know, I need some downtime. I need to take a day off. You know, you do that because people are really scared. I have a lot of people saying to me, but I've got to answer the phone and I can't have a day out of my business. I'm telling you, take a day out of your business. The whole world does not stop. It doesn't revolve around you. It still goes.
In fact, you often actually have your best ideas when you are having your downtime. Like I find that, you know, we've committed to having a day off a week, usually the same day, so that we can both just switch off. And, you know, the world doesn't end, does it? And we come back together refreshed on a Thursday and kind of have some really fantastic breakthroughs. And that's exactly right. I've just come off a 3-day event. It was over the weekend, you know, and I chose to do it on the weekend. I took Monday off, you know, and I said to the people in the room, don't email me tomorrow. I'm having the day off. And I'm working these couple of days, and Friday I'm having Friday off. You know, because I just feel I need another day. And
that's what I do. And that's what we're talking about, is designing that life so you can, and not feel guilty about it.
Yeah, and that's the key, isn't it? A lot of people feel guilty when they take time for themselves, and you know, they don't notice the little signs that maybe their health is not so great, or maybe their relationships are deteriorating a little bit, or maybe they're getting a little bit burnt out in their business and they're not being productive, but they keep pushing through, because there's this myth that if you hustle and work 24/7, then you'll get ahead, whereas, you know, going slower is often the best way to grow.
Well, when I was in real estate, I was in the top 2% worldwide working in school hours. Right? So I dropped my daughter off, picked her up, you know, but when I was at work, I was very focused. You know, I didn't have to be a mum. I was, you know, Sharon Jurd, Century 21. But then when I picked Casey up, I could be totally a mum. And people wanted to have a look through a home or meet up with me. I would just say to them, no, that's my time with my daughter.
Yes.
I've got lots and lots and lots of other times that I can meet up with you, but not at that time. At 3:30, I'm picking her up. And, you know, people respected you for that, rather than lying and saying, I just can't do it or whatever. When you say, I'm being a mum and this is the time I'm a mum, they actually are quite respectful of it. It's not a bad thing to openly say that.
And it's scary for people to set boundaries, I think. Like, I think particularly when you've got a startup business, or you're working on commission, or, you know, you're the one that's the chief prospector or whatever. It's kind of like a mindset shift.
It is a mindset
where you can't be available all the time, and that it will be there is always more than enough, and the abundance is there if you just let it come to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, and particularly using that real estate example, if someone came into our office or contacted us and said, I want to have a look at this property today, we never did. It was always 48 hours notice to have a look at a property. And that just calmed us. I mean, it calmed our vendors, because we could say to them, you know, we're not going to be sitting at the front and say, can I come in? But the purchasers were genuine. You know, they would go, okay, I can wait 48 hours. You know, and we weren't wasting people's time, and we weren't running around out of control, being in, you know, someone else controlling our time. We were in control of our time, and that's what we do with all of our businesses, is control our time. That it's never that urgent. You know, there are urgent things come up, but clients call in with such urgency because they're out of control. And so we stay in control of our own time.
It probably helps to filter a little bit as well. Like you said, they were genuine people that wanted to look. So if you've got people that are, you know, not as genuine, then it filters those guys out. If they really want to look, they would make sure they can turn to work.
We had heaps of people go, well, you missed out on a sale, you know, we're not looking, you know, you're never going to buy.
No, that's exactly right. If you're genuinely interested in the house, you are going to do it.
So, and that's what you love about owning your own business, because you can deal with the people that you want to deal with. But I tell this story about, you know, helping the people that need you. And it's about, and depending on where your community is coming from, but in Australia we have the Westpac Rescue Helicopter. And, you know, they rescue people in the surf and all sorts of things. But it was asked of a pilot one day of this helicopter, and said, you know, if you go out to a rescue and there's lots of people in the water and you know you're not going to get all of them, who do you rescue first? And he said, the people who were swimming towards us. Because they're a bit more coherent. They do as they're told. You can get them, you know, strapped up and up quickly and get more people up. And that's so true in business. Help the people who are swimming towards you. You can help more people that way. And, you know, if they're not swimming towards you, that's okay. It's not the right time. You're not the right person, and don't get caught up as a rejection as such. Just go, I'm focused on the people who are swimming towards me, and then I can help greatly.
I think when you talk about mindset, I don't know why people do it, but I think that when people work for somebody else, sometimes they'll often do everything they can, or no, they'll be more strict with, yes, I'm here, or no, I can't, or whatever. But actually it's the converse. When it's your own business, you have the perfect opportunity to set that up And people don't.
I know.
The job, they go, well, no, I'm not into it. I don't start at that time. Like, don't ring me after that. I won't be there. Like, I won't answer the phone.
Yeah.
In business, we go, oh, you know, it's so.
That's what I say. 4:30 in the afternoon, I'm watching Bold and Beautiful. You know, I'm switched off. I'm gone.
So tell us then, like, obviously back in the day where your children were younger and you were talking about working school hours, that was, you know, one thing. But these days, what does your week actually look like? Like, for the guys that actually are interested in knowing what a person who has what they might consider to be successful businesses, like 10 businesses, like for you, are you a busy person? Are you into the hustle, or are you into the going slow and leading the easy life where you kind of know that with the right mindset you will attract what is right for you?
What can 10 businesses look like?
Yeah.
I actually do a bit of both. You know, some days I'm hustling like there's no tomorrow, and then other days I'm relaxing. So, and I do it strategically. So I set that time and I go, right, between 10 and 12 today, I'm hustling. I'm making those calls, getting people in the room, getting new clients, you know, earning the big bucks. And then, you know, and particularly in the afternoons, I do things that are a little bit more calmer and a bit more relaxing, and I can bludge a bit, you know, because I do. Sometimes I don't turn up for work, right? Because we all have those days. Yeah. Like, you know, I'm laying in bed, you know, and John's heading out and he's going, not going anywhere? Nah.
Yeah.
So we do have those days, but a typical day for me, and people cannot relate most times, but I wake up at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
I naturally wake up. I haven't used an alarm forever. And, I'm at my peak between 4 and 5, I think, you know, and so, but that's when I go and exercise. And that's, you know, when I do my own fitness, you know, and, you know, it's dark and no one can see you, so that's even better. And there's no one ever around.
Just in case you were prospecting, Sharon, you know.
Yeah. So that's when I take my time. If I'm going to do some hypnosis, if I'm going to, just sit and be calm and gather my thoughts, and then I might get on the computer or get on social media and just check out that for a while. So I do a bit of stuff, and then I mosey off to go get ready. And like this morning, I was in bed, you know, cup of tea. And I had my iPad and I was just sending some tasks to my team because it was, I knew it was floating around a bit. So I did that. And then I went off and got ready and took my time. And John and I always sit down for breakfast. His thing is that, you know, he needs to be calm at breakfast. So we always sit down, and sometimes because I try to sit for as long as he does. And, you know, I'm at my peak, remember?
Yeah.
So I tend to do some approval, so, you know, of posts or content, and so I have it in written form, and I can, you know, sit there and quietly, because and then it's off, you know. And sometimes I come in to the HydroClean office. Sometimes I stay at home, so I have a choice. I've set it up so I have a choice to work wherever. With technology, you can work remotely anywhere, but I tend to be either at the HydroClean office or which is a Sharon Jurd events office as well, and or at home. And a lady asked me yesterday, and I said, well, you know, when I'm really loving my team, I'm at the office. When I want to be by myself, I'm at home. That's why I have those choices. And then I seem to hustle in the mornings. So that's when I'm busy. So I make, you know, lots of appointments in the mornings, and then I keep it really light in the afternoon. I always keep Friday afternoon free because I'm always excited if someone invites me to go to the pub for a drink. I'm always ready. I have my hair done in the morning.
So you're looking on top of the game.
I know, I'm on it. And, we call it a Friday Fun Day, so we don't wear uniforms. So I'm ready to go. Yeah. You know, anyone can call me Friday afternoon and I'm like there. Yeah. But I do hustle, you know, and I know that's not probably the good word, but that's what we're using for this conversation. But,
I know what you mean.
You know, when I'm on, I'm on. And people don't see that in social media. And I was talking to one of my mentors the other day, you know, because, I had the event coming up and I was hustling around that. And and I said my niece decided to come and stay for a week, you know, in the lead up to a launch, you know, and I'm going, and so she never knew that I was busy, because I always, you know, protect my nieces from that, you know, because they don't want to think that they're intruding. I said, yeah, come for the week. Yeah. And so I made a few calls around the pool. You know, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Because she was in there for 8 hours, you know, so she didn't care what I was doing.
No.
And so I made the calls, and that's okay. But everyone saw on social media a photo of me at the pool. They didn't see me making the calls. So you do have to do the work. You can't just sit and expect it all to come to you. And, you know, and if someone alludes to that, they're filling you with crap, because you do have to do the hard yards, you know. And some days is better than others, you know. This week I'm having an amazing week, you know, coming off that event, and I just seem to have a lot of time, and, you know, a bit tired, so, you know, I can just chill. But other weeks I'm the, you know, the same as everyone else. You know, you just fly through the week and go, what in the hell just happened there? Like, you know, but I have an ideal week. I have, you know, you guys, I've talked to about it before. I'm looking up because it's right there. I know what it looks like. And so I just keep getting back to my ideal week. I don't let, you know, get too far out of control. I go, right, what are we up to today? Let's get back on this, you know, the horse, and do that. And whenever you keep coming back to that ideal week, it's not a perfect week, ideal week. I don't get out of control. You know?
Yeah, and that's important, isn't it? Because you can kind of spiral quickly once you start getting to the point where you're a slave to what everyone else wants you to be doing instead of what you're keeping control over. I actually have a question for you as well, in that, you know, you've created what some may call a legacy business already. Is there, you know, back to the whole you're 90, how old do you want to be in your rocking chair for this conversation?
Let's 100. Let's make it 100.
When you're 100 in your rocking chair, like, what do you want to look back on and kind of think, yeah, I created that and I'm proud of it? Like, what do you see that being?
Yeah, well, I've launched a business. So this might be my 11th. But it's under the Sharon Jurd Events banner. But I've launched SMJ Coaching Institute, and I'm currently teaching people how to speak from stage and to coach, because a lot of people who speak from stage sell into coaching. And for me, that has been something that I've wanted to do for a very long time, and now is the right time. You know, it's all, you know, is there ever a right time? No, because if you're waiting for the right time, just get started. But for me, you know, if I'm sitting in my rocking chair, and it's always about helping people change, but right now, if I could help people speak from the stage, because you know how scary that is for a lot of people, and create that learning environment where they can, and then they can go out and coach, which is changing other people's lives. I can get to more people, you know, and because I can only do so much. And so if I left that, you know, that business, you know, still when I'm 100, you know, going in that respect. And that's why I chose the name Sharon Jurd Events, because people say, oh, you're an event planner. No. I didn't realize it was so complicated, but the reason behind my business name was that I wanted to be an event in someone's timeline. So when they met me, whether it be at one of my, you know, seminars, or here, or, you know, just, you know, at breakfast, that I left something with them that they went, the day I met Sharon, I changed that. And so if I'm sitting there at 100, and there's people out there going, because of Sharon Jurd, I made it, like, or I changed slightly and I tweaked it, or I changed my mindset, or whatever it was for them, I'll be very, very happy. You know, to think that I just, even though I want to say I taught them everything they know, it's about just being a very small part of their timeline would be absolutely amazing.
I love that, being an event in somebody's life and positively impacting them. I really like that.
That's beautiful.
That's kind of the core. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
you've definitely done that for us. So
yes, you've been an event for us, Sharon.
Thank you.
Yeah, it truly has. I mean, I'm so grateful for the people like yourself that we get to kind of really spend some time with and hang out with and open our mind that, you know, we're on the right path, we're doing the right thing, keep doing what you're doing, keep believing that you can. And
Okay, so people that are really interested and genuinely wanting to overcome their fight or flight responses on stage, or their fear in general, or making it so that their words aren't muddled every time they try and say their message to the world, they can actually meet with you for a free consultation to really see if you're a good fit for each other, can't they?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So they can meet up with me for a 30-minute discovery session. Yeah. And what we do in that session is really discover where you're at and where you need to be. So it's, you know, that getting from A to B and going, well, how does that look for you? And am I somebody that could help you get there?
Yeah.
And whether that's, you know, working with me closely one-on-one or one of my events or nothing. But at the end of that 30 minutes, what I guarantee is that you'll know your next step.
Oh, I love that. Woo!
Yeah. So it doesn't matter whether it's with me or yourself or someone else, or you'll know what you need to do.
Yeah.
And I give heaps of value, you know, in that 30 minutes. And that's my way of giving back to your community and saying, well, you know, if I can change their life in 30 minutes, I'm going to give it a damn good shot. So, yeah. So if they are genuinely, you know, want to make some changes in their life, come find me. Yeah.
And there's a link on the page, but you can also expect to hear from Sharon via email as well, because, you know, she might have events coming up.
In fact, we're planning one in Adelaide. So for all of you guys, we're super excited to tell you guys more about that.
Yes, and if you're listening to this in, you know, a couple of years' time as well, I have no doubt
because I'm sure there'll be plenty more events around.
Yeah. So be aware. Like, Sharon would love to get in touch with you via email as well, just to let you know what's going on and whether or not you're interested in the 30-minute discovery call. So
I'd love to.
Look out in your emails in the next couple of weeks for that. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. I hope I've, you know, added value to all the people who are watching and listening. And please reach out to me. I'd love to spend 30 minutes with you guys. It's been amazing. Thank you. I really appreciate having you guys invite me on.
Bye.